Good afternoon. I'm Pastor Lou Kilgore, back again on this Friday, a weekday, in the month of August, joining in what has been now for several months a tradition of meeting here at this location to chat. This chair is for you. Imagine yourself sitting here in the pastor's office. I would usually ask, as I often do, how are you? I've understood from communications that you've sent to me that when I ask that, some of you answer it. I like that. How are you? How are you doing? I've realized in the time that we have, the time that I've had in this change of our lifestyle on purpose to protect ourselves from, and others, from this virus, I've watched and studied my patterns with people more. So I've stopped just asking, how are you? I like what's happening. That kind of comes out of the fact that I grew up, I was young in the 60s, but what's happening? What's happening is a more interesting question and invites a little more input from your side. The other thing I often will ask my dad when I call him, what's going on? What's going on? And again, it's a more inviting question. It invites more of a response. For me today, what's going on is my thoughts were tickled by thinking about and talking about what difference does faith make? If you're in a place in your life where you have an awareness or a sense of a relationship with God, what difference does that make in your life? And more importantly, I think, I want to go on record and say, what differences it doesn't make. I run into people who, you just have to bear with me while I foray into this issue a little bit. But I ran into someone yesterday who knew I was a pastor and said to me, so is your congregation back to meeting in the building? And I said, no, we're not convinced that it's safe. Not yet, not for our community. And this person lives, this person lives in this community, in the area, and they said, wow, my church has gone back to full in-person worship. And last Sunday, the church was packed. And I listened. She said, well, there was, of course, degrees of separation, and she didn't say anything about masks being worn, but let me get to the point. The unspoken conversation that was going on between us, whether projected by me or projected by her, I don't know, was, why doesn't your faith make a difference? Why doesn't the fact that you have faith and you're a community of faith, why doesn't that make a difference so that you are able, I'll say it the way I would say it, which is setting up a straw man, why doesn't your faith enable you to take more risks? Don't you trust God to protect you? Now, the media in terms of television news and television journalism picks up on the extreme of this, and people who defy normal protocols for health and safety and say that God will protect them. Now, one of the places I came face to face with this very interesting approach to life was on one trip we took to the Southern Appalachian region to work on houses for the poor and to create safer, warmer, and drier conditions for children and older people. And we linked up with this elderly man and woman. They were quite interesting people, very involved in their church. They needed some skills that they didn't have. They needed some plumbing, and they needed some help in taking care of some rotting floors, and their house just needed to be reinforced. They didn't have the strength physically or the resources to be able to do it, so we gladly went and we worked with them. And they were wonderful. The woman had some older technology. She was making tapes, not 8-track tapes, but the cassette tapes of her singing. And she sang these songs, and they were cultural songs, but faith songs. And we listened. She sang during the day while we were working, and then she gave us the recordings. But as we got to know them, and we did get to know them, and we ate several meals together with them, and we talked with them. Here's what's happening in our lives, what's happening in yours. And we learned from them that they attend a church that has snake handling as part of its faith experience. I didn't see that one coming. Real faith handling. In fact, her brother had just a month or so before, he had died of a poisonous snake bite. And so, my mind immediately runs to judgment. Can I just be honest with that? I'm human that way. And I think, well, that's absolutely ridiculous, crazy. But I put that on hold and allow curiosity to overcome that and quiet that and push it out of the way. And I want to know more. I want to know more about this faith that leads you, as they read one verse of the Bible, that faith will lead you to a child to be able to play with adders, which is a poisonous snake. And they take it very biblically, literally, and they bring snakes into the worship service, and the pastor will hold up a poisonous snake and handle it, and it will not bite him. It will not bite him. Or, if it bites him, then the venom will have no effect on him. And the only problem is, and the sister, the woman that we were staying with, herself had observed a problem with that. And she said, of course, the problem is that my brother was there in church and he was handling the snakes on that Sunday and he got bit. And at first, the church would not call an ambulance because they believed that if they prayed for him, then that would be their sign of faith. They believed he got bit because he lacked in faith, and then if they prayed for him, the prayers would heal him. And she stepped in, and she demanded that he be taken to the hospital, which was a violation of their understanding of what it meant to have faith. So they took him to the hospital, and they put him in a hospital bed, and they gave him some anti-venom treatment. This is not a story for children, but I promise you, this is a true story out of the lives of these two people that I worked with. She said her brother was in the hospital, and some of the elders of the church came to visit him. And when they came to visit him, they brought a bag of snakes, unknown to anybody else, because they were going to cure the family of their lack of faith. And so they snuck the bag of snakes into the bed under his covers, and he was bitten to the point where he was killed. The word in the community was that he died of lack of faith. Very confidently, he died of lack of faith. So, what difference does faith make? I don't know about you, but I'm a long way on the other end of the pendulum. Faith having faith, being able to trust that God is a relationship partner with you in this life. Not just that God exists, but that God is with you and walking with you and caring for you in this life. None of that faith in my life leads me to believe that we would ever take any less precaution than anybody else, that we would ever think our lives are any less vulnerable than anybody else's life. The faith, as I understand it, never goes there. It doesn't go there. It doesn't have me picking up snakes and putting them near my arm and saying it doesn't matter if he bites me because then God will protect me and the venom won't harm me. And I know that's an extreme example, but it comes all the way back to a level of practicality in my life that says I don't believe any of that at any time in any way. So I started out by telling you of a conversation with someone who was asking me, why aren't the members of my church here gathering for strengthening of faith and the rituals that we go through? Why not? And the answer is, because we believe it's not safe. The Board of Elders believe it's not safe to do it. And I completely reject the idea that making that assessment reveals a lack of faith. It doesn't reveal a lack of faith in that setting, and it doesn't reveal a lack of faith when I won't play with snakes. It doesn't work like that. What difference does faith make? I do think that faith gives me strength as I face whatever challenges are out there in the world. Faith encourages me to see meaning in things that may seem meaningless. And I think faith also encourages me to look for connections between things, believing that there are connections I might not see. And in particular, the connections to the invisible God, the immortal God, the creator and sustainer and redeemer of the whole world. There was a cartoon in one of the comic strips in the newspaper a day or two ago, and I think it was, I can't see the character in my mind, but two little boys standing there, one looking up at heaven, saying, "I know that was you." I think the point was that sometimes when something happens or we get an event that we see a meaning in, we say, "I know that was you, God. I know you're there." Sometimes it's, "What are you trying to say to me?" I've been saying that a lot in the last couple of days, at least, in this series of weeks, with series of things that happen. And I see connections between them because there isn't that much break between this news about this and this news about this, and the shower upstairs leaking and the water coming all down through the ceiling and the power being out, and then I'm waiting for 2020 to finally have its say, and hope that when it's over, that we'll know it's over and something new will begin. And I am praying for the faith to be able to take it as it comes, to avoid whatever suffering or risk that I can in the process. I don't think faith leads me to be foolish. There's a metaphor, there's an image that can be used helpfully in discussions about this, and I've done it before, and that is, there's a tension. There is a tension. It's not on one side or the other, but there's a tension between the difference that faith makes, I don't have to worry about snakes. And the need to be responsible, to take what we know, to use our minds and to use our knowledge, and to stop at stop signs, and to stay away from poisonous snakes, and to do what we can and what we know to do to protect our health, to take our vitamins. It's a tension. It's a healthy tension. It keeps us in balance. You can't do everything to protect yourself. Not in this world. But you can do everything you can do. And in the end, whatever happens is still an opportunity for exercise of faith. To trust God for outcomes that you don't know. So, what difference does faith make? I think it leads us to see the universe in a personal way. A personal God in a personal universe. Me in relationship to the creatures and persons around me. Me in relationship to all the systems of the created order. And me in relationship to God. It's all personal. It's personal. It's not limited by me as a person, but it's personal. It's relationship oriented. So, at 15 minutes to come around to what my prayer is for you and for me. At the end of this, another crazy week. Forecasts of very difficult thunderstorms coming again tonight. I pray that you and I will be able to avoid the snakes and not get confused. To use our wisdom to be as healthy as we can be, to be reasonable about it, but to do what we can do to protect our life and our health and the safety and life of others that we care about. Do what we can do. That's faith. And then to have that sense, this is Friday, to have it through this day and tomorrow and Sunday, that no matter what happens, God is with us. God is with us, you and me, walking beside us. From the beginning of the story, the narrative of the Bible, there's the story of Cain and the story of Adam and Eve, but the primary couple in the witness of the Hebrew Scriptures is Abram and Sarah. Sarah and Abraham. And their story is our story. God said to them, "Will you walk with me? Will you walk with me? And if you walk with me, I will put a hedge around your life. And we will walk together. And we will bless the families of the earth." That's the project. That's what this life is, as God has defined it, for those of us who have faith. So, my friends, journey on. Be safe. Be safe in every way that you can. And trust God for the places that you didn't see coming and that you can't control. Have a great rest of the Friday. I hope you have a good day tomorrow. Tune in on Sunday at 10:30 or later if you want to. A live streamed worship service, a gathering for faith and strengthening. We'll be singing some hymns, listening to music, saying prayers, and I'll even preach a sermon. God bless you, my friends. Talk to you then. Bye.